This episode is brought to you by Pepsi Wild Cherry. Pepsi Wild Cherry is bursting with delicious cherry flavor and a sweet, crisp taste that gives you more to go wild for. Getting wild may look different these days, but whether it's opting for a solo Friday binge watch or a big night out, everyone can indulge in their wild side with Pepsi Wild Cherry. Also available in Zero Sugar. So grab a Pepsi Wild Cherry and get wild.
Welcome back, everyone, to part 2 of this week's Mailbag. It is Thursday, the 22nd of February. I'm in Western Pennsylvania. Snail's coming to you from the Pacific Northwest in Seattle. In our, I believe our first part, we promised the return of Garrett, but as you can see, Garrett is not here. He actually he ran into a wall in the basement and passed out. He is unconscious. We are monitoring the situation, but
concussion protocol.
He's in concussion protocol at least until next week, but maybe he'll be back then. We will take it day by day. He is, as they say, out with an upper body injury.
And we don't want to rush him back.
We might, again, we got to keep him healthy for the trade deadline. We don't know. We might be shipping him out here in a couple weeks. So we want to keep him as healthy as possible. But all joking aside, Snail, how is your Thursday going?
It's going good. It's a beautiful sunny day out here in the Pacific Northwest. Feels like spring has sprung. How's it over there in Western PA?
I guess we switched weather patterns. The Seattle rain is in Western Pennsylvania today. Not very nice, but I mean, it's still a great day for hockey. The Penguins do play later this evening. So how great of a day it is, I guess we'll find out in a couple hours. But Lord. I digress, and we have part 2 of our mailbag here, 13 questions. Garrett sent his answers, so Snail, since the first question is mine, I'll have you read it, and I will give my input.
So I feel like we haven't had too many food questions from Brian recently.
Yeah.
He's kind of been skimping on those because those food questions really get us going. So a little bit of a food question here to start us off. Brian asks, why does food that is intended for morning consumption absolutely smack at night?
So I'm guessing what Brian means by this is breakfast foods, obviously. And I agree with that. Breakfast foods do smack about any time of day. I don't know what it is, if it's like a mental thing. Again, I don't always have time to eat like a full breakfast in the morning. Sometimes it's a Pop-Tart. Sometimes it's a hard-boiled egg or something like that. So maybe it's you don't get it as much unless you plan out a breakfast meal. You don't get it as much, and it amps you up to have some of it. Again, I like cereal about any time of day. Breakfast for dinner is definitely something that I can get down with as well. Never a bad time for a sausage egg McMuffin or something like that as well. But I think it's just more of you don't get it as much as dinner food. So I will say I'd rather eat breakfast in the evening than like a cheeseburger at 7 a.m. I feel like that'd be a little too much. Now pizza is a little bit different. I can knock down pizza about any time of day, but I think it's just more of a mental thing. Is you're kind of treating yourself, especially if you're a breakfast food fan, which I am. I love breakfast food. I just don't always have time to eat a full breakfast in the morning, so I have to compensate at night. And I think it's just more of a mental thing that gets you hyped up for it more than like a dinner that you have every night.
Oh, dude, breakfast for dinner was some of my favorite words to hear as a kid. Would be like, breakfast for dinner tonight, gonna have bacon, pancakes, or cereal or something. Cereal is one of the probably most underrated midnight snacks that you can
Cereal,
have. Something about it, it's the sweet, it's such a sensory experience. It's the sweet, the crunch, and then you
Everything.
have the refreshment of like whatever it is you use, whether
Yep.
it's a plant-based milk or dairy in there. It's just a cold. It's like a cold going down with like that cold refreshment. It's like it's one of the probably
Absolutely.
best.
Yeah, cereal. I mean, cereal again is a 24-hour food. Let's be honest. Cereal, man. If it's lunchtime and you just feel lazy throwing some cereal together, or if it's like if you're in the middle of a game, we were talking about video games before we went live here. A video game session. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're hungry. Nothing better than a bowl of whatever you prefer. Because it's quick, it's easy, and it's generally just all you need: a bowl, some kind of milk, and the cereal. So very quick, easy, and generally delicious. Because again, cereals, so much variety that you can pick and choose whatever you want. It's not like you have 5 cereals to choose from. You might not like them. You can do whatever you want to with cereal, and it's gonna meet your taste.
Oh yeah, can't go wrong with it.
Absolutely. All right, sticking with Brian here for the first few questions. This one's for Snail. He asked, is Jaromir Jagr the greatest European-born player? Seeing him skate with the team and being in Penn's gear once again was so nostalgic and special to me.
That was really special. That was an awesome ceremony. Yeah, nostalgia, a lot of feels. Really cool to see how Yager was soaking it all in. He loves Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh loves him. Just a phenomenal job done by the organization to bring this like living legend back into the building, back to his roots. Awesome job. But best European born player, like I think so statistically. I mean, I don't think there's much debate as far as statistically, but I don't know. You're going to always have people that, have a hot take here or there, or I don't know. There's probably people that disagree, but with the longevity, the assists, the goals, the points or whatever, the games played, he is the best European born player ever.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can make arguments for a couple guys here, but I think the totality of it all, guys like Ovechkin and Malkin are going to be on that list. You can probably make an argument for Fedorov in some ways. Hasek is going to be on that list just from a goaltending perspective. Lidstrom will be on that list, but I think if you're looking at strictly points and longevity, obviously, I think Yager is going to top that list. Again, you can make a very solid Mount Rushmore of European players, but Yager is definitely going to be probably a 99 out of 100 pick on that list, if not 100.
Undoubtedly. So, yeah, not much debate there from my point of view, and I think Robbie agrees. So, let's see. Garrett is not here, as we all know, so this would be going to him, but I will just read. We'll switch off here, Robbie. I'll take this one, and then you take this next one. Brian asks, if Edward Beckham is the curse to this team that he thinks he is, he needs to join Garrett in the basement. And let's unpack this a little bit. So Edward brought up that maybe he has a little bit of a superstition going. Maybe he's the reason for the Penguins' woes. And Brian, fellow listener, he thinks that I guess if that's the case, then Edward needs to join Garrett in the basement here. So Garrett, he says here, I vote to cast Brian to the eternal basement, which I guess would be hell if you believe in that sort of thing. But yes, anyways, Brian sucks donkey feet.
Listen, I mean, the basement is obviously reserved for the ingrates, and Garrett has his own space down there, and we can't. I mean, Edward. It's tough, man. I mean, I understand you're coming in here. You're picking a good team. We love the support, and we're not going to put it on you. This is clearly something that's been going on for a while, the struggles. Garrett just wants company is really what he's trying to say. So Brian and Edward, we wouldn't have a podcast without Brian. Let's put it that way. So Brian is on our podcast participant Mount Rushmore. Let's put it like that. Brian has the permanent spot there. Edward, asks questions occasionally. He's from on the pond, and he had to sit through. Notice he didn't ask a question this week after my English accent last week. So maybe he just like straight up is quitting the podcast. I don't know. If that's the case, I apologize, Edward. Please come back. But no, we're not going to put that on him. He just needs to. Once you get a taste of good playoff hockey, Edward, you're going to be hooked. So stay on board. It's not your fault. We're going to blame Ron Hextall.
We're going to blame Ron Hextall and Mike Sullivan. They could join Garrett in the basement.
Yes, that is fair.
I think that's where they belong. All right, moving on here to question 4 for Robbie, coming from Brian again, and he asks, do you think that every time I read Jagr, I read it as Jagr, but anyways, do you think Jagr has the most important goal in Penguins history? It's crazy to think that for years the fan base booed and hated him when arguably he does in fact.
I mean, yeah, I think he absolutely, if you look at so we're talking about, if you're not familiar, people that may be listening aren't familiar, we're talking about his goal in the 1999 playoffs where the Penguins were the 8 seed, the Devils were the 1 seed, and the Penguins basically had no money. They were about to become insolvent, and the franchise was no longer going to exist. The Penguins knew they had to win at least a round, and the Devils were as a Stanley Cup favorite. There's no doubt about that. They were a Stanley Cup favorite. They ended up winning the Stanley Cup the next year, but besides the point. So the Penguins were a huge underdog. They had to get as many home games as possible to get as much money as possible. And basically, he scored in overtime of Game 6 to force a Game 7, which the Penguins eventually won in advance and had enough money to continue the franchise. So that single goal basically kept them solvent and in existence. So you can make an argument for a lot of goals in Penguins history being the most important, but I think that if you look at what it meant and what it meant not just then, but all these years later, almost 25 years later, it is literally 25 years this year, 25 years later, what that goal meant to keep the franchise in Pittsburgh. There were some bad years after that, obviously, but you had Crosby, Malkin, the cups, the 3 cups, the back-to-back in 16 and 17. None of that is possible without that goal. So in my mind, that is the most important goal in Penguins history. As for the second part of this, about booing him, there's a lot of hard feelings because how it ended. I will admit I held some animosity toward him as well. That eventually faded, and I'm glad we had Sunday to kind of finally and fully bury the hatchet and celebrate what a great player he was. So that's where I'll end that. Snail, you can put in whatever you wish to as well.
Oh, just quickly, just closure, I guess, on that whole chapter. And, in hockey, sports in general, you resent the people that leave, you resent the people that want out. But I think specifically with the Penguins situation, where they were at when he left and what they went through, and then eventually where, Jagr eventually going on to be this legend and the Penguins going on to have just a ton of success. It's easy to close that door and be like, well, he's a legend. We embrace him. All is good. Now, if only they would hire him as the power play coach.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Question number 5 from Brian here as well. I'm curious what you guys call instant noodles.
So I call it cup of noodle. I feel like even the ramen packets, it's just what I've called them forever. Cup of noodle. I never call it instant noodles or maybe ramen. Just call it ramen.
Yeah, I was gonna say I call it ramen. It is ramen to me, whether it says ramen on the package or cup of noodles or instant noodle, whatever. I basically, this is ramen.
Yeah. What do you call it, Brian? I guess that's the bigger question. If he probably calls it something outrageous.
Yeah. So
something only a guy who runs 20 miles a day would call it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not a ton of mystery there. So I guess we'll move on here. And this is going over to Robbie. You want to get this one?
Yeah. This is from Edward. Oh, so he is back. Okay, so he didn't totally push away. What's the best viewing area at a hockey arena? Low, down low, or high up? Garrett says, for my money, it's the top. It's called the 200 level at PPG Paints Arena. That arena was specifically designed for hockey rather than the old Mellon Arena. It's not an exaggeration to say there was no bad seat in the house. And as someone who's been there plenty of times, I will agree with that. There is no bad seat. I will say, though, like, the best seat is never on the glass. But if you ever get a chance to attend a hockey game and sit on the glass, do it at least once. It is insane how fast the game is, how big these dudes actually are. So if you ever get a chance to sit on the glass, do it at least once, because it is an unreal experience to see these guys up close. So, but the 200 level at PPG Paints Arena has great sight lines from literally everywhere. So really no bad seat in the house. I've sat in the 100 level. And again, if you're up high enough, no block, you can see over the benches, over the penalty boxes. You can see both ends of the ice, no problem. But if you want a guaranteed great sight line and a full view of the ice, sit in the 200 level, because you sit kind of high up and at an angle, so you kind of sit on top of the game as well, and you can see everything very clearly. It's great seats. And Snail, I mean, you've been to Climate Pledge. I don't know what it's like out there, so I'll let you chime in there as well.
Yeah, so I guess just quickly, when Garrett had mentioned that there's not a bad seat in the house, I've never been to PPG Paints Arena. That will probably change in the fall. But I will say that with my experiences, I've sat on the glass at hockey games before. I sat the row right behind the first row there against the glass at the Climate Pledge when I saw the Kraken play the Habs. And then at the junior barns here, I've sat on the glass just with my buddies, gooning it up, stacking beers on it and whatever. It's an experience. I think you should do that, but I will say that is not the best seat in the house, and I am adamant about that. Hockey's one of those weird things, and it's got to depend on the arena. But like,
yeah.
No, I'm not saying like nosebleeds, because like you don't want to be too far away, but higher up seats. It's like I don't know, you just get the bird's eye view. Even if you sit behind the goalie even too close, sometimes you're only seeing the action on your end. You'll have the best view for a goal on whoever that period is on your side, but trying to see the action away, you're mostly watching like the jumbotron and stuff. You're trying to take a peek down, maybe just looking into the bottom of your beer cup. Because sometimes you have nothing else to do when the action's at the other end. So, anyways, yeah, I will agree that. I guess I can't speak to PPG, but like sometimes those seats that are a little bit higher up, like Garrett had said, maybe a 200 level or whatever. I don't know what that would be for Climate Pledge, because it was actually like built like for hockey, so it's like, and it's in the ground. It's a little bit different. So yeah, mid level. You can't go wrong with that. And they don't break the bank either, Robbie. You don't have to pay glass level seat money to actually enjoy the game.
Okay, good.
All right, so we're moving on from question 6. We're going to question 7 here, I believe now. Kim Larson asks here, do you think I'm too harsh if I say that a rebuild is the answer? And could you see Dubas do that? Or would he give it a go with the same roster, plus or minus a couple players next season? This is an interesting question for what Dubas had a little press release recently. So, Robbie, take us down what you think is it too harsh? Is that where we're at?
I guess it all depends on what the definition of a rebuild is, because I mean, a full rebuild is trading everyone, which they're not going to do, whether or not people think they should at all. But, I mean, it sounds like he's willing to listen to everybody. Now, again, that is just talk until trades are made and deals agreed upon, I guess you could technically listen to offers on anyone, and it'd be nothing. So I don't know what his plan is. He kind of didn't really reveal his hand much in that press conference, but I think if you can get younger and keep your core players, then yeah, you do it. I don't like the idea of getting younger by trading Jake Gensel. I think there are many other guys you can move out. Obviously, he's going to bring the biggest return, but I think there's other guys you can move out before him to quote unquote get younger. That includes, as much as it pains me to say, guys like Brian Rust, guys like Lars Eller, Noah Chari. Like, those guys aren't on long-term deals. There's room to move them. I just don't know. Like, a rebuild in my eyes is tearing it all down, and I'm not. As long as Crosby's willing to play for the Penguins, I'm not willing to go there. So a full tear down, no, but a renovation, I'm full on with that within reason.
Yeah, I don't think that it's a rebuild that's going to happen anytime soon. I think you're going to say bye to maybe some players that have been near and dear to the heart, but right now it's dude, the economy in the NHL. I mean, Sean Monahan fetched a first round pick. I think there are some teams that are serious about making runs. You trade a decent player on this Penguins roster to a contender, you're going to get a legit return right now. So I don't think it's harsh to say. It's just it's a harsh reality of where the Penguins are at right now, given the expectations coming into the season.
All right, question number 8. Sticking with Kim here for Snail. What do you think about all the rules Lou Lamoriello has? Players can't grow a beard or have long hair. I also think that players can't have high numbers on their jerseys.
I mean, they're silly. Let's be honest. It's the modern era. Lou thinks that he's in the mob. I get it though. Like, where I've heard that he has these rules because it's not about the individual, it's about the team. And so when you are, I guess, expressing yourself with facial hair and long hair or whatever, and whatever, you picking your number, maybe that's ego. And maybe Lou is a little bit of like a Zen Buddhist or something, and he's all about no ego, just everyone look. I mean, did you see Robert Bortuzzo when he went into the Islanders? He's had a beard forever, and he was completely shaven. It looked hilarious. So
I'm sure, yeah.
I don't know. I can appreciate it to a certain extent. You don't want players coming in thinking about too much other than hockey, but I mean, dude, some guys. It's also like you're reaching a little bit. You're kind of getting into territory where it's like, should you be caring about, like, should you be dictating these people when they go home, whether they have a beard or long hair, when really their life is just spent. I mean, they spend a lot of time within the organization, and not just when they're on the ice, but you know what I'm saying. They're on TV for a couple hours every other day for several months out of the year. It's like, should you really be dictating that much about their life? I can see both sides, and I guess I'm going to side with it's a little silly. Robbie, you got any thoughts on Lou's
I mean, in 2024, it's definitely silly. I mean, it's been silly for years. It's not just because it's a new year. It's been silly for years. The Yankees kind of have the same thing. It's just bizarre to me that we still have these rules in hockey today. We want all this talk about wanting players to show personality and stuff. And again, it's an old school thing, but it's long past its expiration date.
I think we're all in agreement there. I can't believe Lou's even still. I think he's like 80 years old. He's still managing
in Pittsburgh earlier this week. Sorry.
Yeah. All right. I think we're moving on here to question number.
Yeah, this is yours.
All right. This would go over to Garrett. Edward Beckham asks, what's the best sporting event you've been to? Edward says that his was the 2005 Championships League final when Liverpool came back from 3-0 down to beat AC Milan on penalties. Garrett responds with, I've told the story on the pod before. Garrett says he was at the 2017 Eastern Conference final game. Game 7, double overtime. He says, I was exhausted, but also scared. I've never heard anything louder in my life than when that fluttering puck found the back of the net. I'll never forget it.
Yeah, that would have been.
That's a crazy one.
Yeah,
dude.
that's a nuts one to go to. I will say that I was not there, unfortunately, but I've talked to a few people that were at that game, and they say that it is still one of the most just insane sporting events they've ever attended.
Where were you, Robbie, when the knuckle puck hit the back of the net?
I was at home watching on the TV in my room. I remember exactly where I was. I had the air conditioning on because it was really warm, but I was sweating, like just pouring off sweat. Like this, it was so nervous, and it was like the first time during that entire run that I've actually been nervous.
Really? Yeah, I remember feeling oddly confident. I don't know. I feel like during that run, I had so much confidence in the Penguins. I just never really thought they were going to lose.
Yeah, that was absolutely the most nervous I was during. Again, I kind of got to I was actually in the final. I was more or less like they're not going to lose. Like once they got to the final, I'm like nobody's stopping them now.
Well, both of those cups, the back-to-back, the conference final was the most intense for me.
Yeah, that was insane.
Like them playing the Lightning, but back when Ben Bishop was Big Ben, like when he was really good, and then he remember when he got pulled off on the stretcher?
He did game one, yeah.
And Vasilevsky went in. I remember being like, oh my god, because I didn't think that they were. I was questionable on them, if they were going to get past Tampa. But I think that was the year Steven Stamkos, was he out? I want to say he was out.
Yes, he played game 7.
He played game 7. So
yeah.
I just remember when Bishop went down, Vasilevsky was still unproven, and Stamkos was out. Even I was nervous for that series. And then seeing him go down, I was actually in San Jose, California, watching that game. In a bar playing pool. I was on a road trip at the time. And anyways. And then, 2017, when they played Ottawa, again, that was better than the Stanley Cup final. I mean, it was amazing to see them lift Lord Stanley, but those conference final series were way more stressful than the actual finals.
The conference, like they did war in those 2 conference finals, especially against Tampa, because like Tampa was like the up and come, like they were the next like supposed dynasty.
Well, they were in the Cup final the year before against Chicago.
Yes, but that Tampa team was really good.
They were. They had I mean, it's crazy to think what they became later on. They only got better once they got that third line cooking with Coleman, Gaudreau, and Yanni Gourde. But anyways, nice trip down memory lane. I think we've talked about that, the biggest events you've been to or whatever. Anyways. Let's see here. I think we're moving over to you now. I love going down memory lane. I love thinking back to those good old days when the Penguins just had it all. Question number 10 going over to Rob here, coming from Kim Larson, and he asks, do you think it's okay that Riley jumped Ridley Gregg after the way he put the puck in the net a la a slap shot into the yawning cage?
Stupid.
That was stupid?
It was stupid.
Of who? Or the whole thing?
I mean, the whole thing was kind of stupid. I understand from okay, it's great from a rivalry standpoint that those 2 teams kind of hate each other again, but Morgan Riley, that team's been so soft all year, and now you're getting smoked in this game. You've lost the season series to Ottawa, who's not very good. Again, it just anything that Tampa, Toronto does irks me because they are so annoying. I mean, it's stupid. I'm glad he got suspended. He deserves the suspension. Everybody there was so many people being like, "Oh yeah, that's what you got to do, buddy." If you don't want to get a clapper into the open net from 5 feet, don't lose 5-3 to Ottawa. They suck. I mean, you guys are getting just run over by the Senators. Buddy, you deserve that. I mean, it's just stupid. To me, it was just stupid.
I thought it was silly because it's the Leafs. I just thought all of a sudden, I don't know. I get it. Like that's what their fan base has been asking for. It feels like forever to show like a pulse out there.
Oh
But
yeah,
then they finally do, and it's just like ill-timed. Comes with a bit. Their best defenseman is out for 5 games.
yeah, and like a crucial part of the season.
A
Yeah,
crucial part of the season against the Ottawa, who's just stinks. It's just like I'm not super upset with the showing of emotion, like in general, but just the fact that it was the Leafs, the way it went down, just their pettiness there. I don't know. I think it was silly.
yeah, very. All right, question number 11 from Kim. Is it okay to put banana? Oh my gosh, banana on pizza? And what about tuna?
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely not. That's
both of those are bad.
First of all, I don't know. I can't remember where Kim was from.
Denmark?
I think it was Denmark. Sorry if that's wrong, Kim, but if that's what's going on over there,
yeah, we gotta do we gotta invade or something.
Yeah, wage war. No, that's just like it's what's that thing you sent me one time? Anti-Italian like propaganda or something.
Oh yeah,
it's anti-Italian.
I forget what exactly. I'd have to go back and look through it. I completely forgot. I forget what
Basically,
it is.
Basically, it's an assault on Italian culture, is what it is.
It's
tuna fish.
Yeah,
like dude, tuna. I just imagine, is it chunks of tuna or smeared on there like a piece of bread? Banana. I mean, let's be honest. Like, maybe this is a trick question because maybe I'm going too far into this, but banana and tuna. People get sardines on pizza, and that is a fish. And people put pineapple on pizza. Also, a fruit, much like a banana.
Yeah.
And so maybe he's trying to prove a point here. Like maybe I'm trying to read between the lines too much. But is this like a whole like clowning on unpopular pizza toppings, or do you think this is literal? Like maybe maybe he's ordered a pizza with this on it.
I think he maybe had. Maybe this is a Danish thing. Like, oh man, I can't. I mean, I like my pizza pretty standard. Again, even pineapple. Pineapple's acidic. Banana is not acidic. Banana would be, and it's mushy. Can you imagine cooked banana? Like, no, I'm fine. That's no. Cam, if you eat this, please let us know because
send us a picture.
Please send us a picture because I gotta know what this looks like because that is not appetizing.
Yeah, we need a little bit of backstory, Kim. Please respond to us. Tweet at us on Twitter or X at us on X, whatever it is. Let us know where this question came from. Is this a dark fantasy of yours? Is this something that exists in Danish culture? Is this some sort of point you're trying to prove that sardines and pineapple shouldn't be on pizza because that's how silly it sounds to you?
Yeah.
Let us know. Expand on this. Let's unpack this together and we'll revisit it on the next pod because I'm not going to forget this. All right, moving on from that. Need a little palate cleanser after that one. Question 12 going over to Garrett. I'll just read the question. Robbie, you want to read Garrett's answer for him?
Yeah.
When it's time for Sid, Gino, and this is coming from Paige. Is Paige
Paige is a new one?
Paige is a new one? Welcome, Paige. When it's time for Sid, Gino, and Letang to hang up the skates, do you think their jersey numbers will also be hung in the rafters? Who goes first, second, and last?
So, Garrett says, I think all three have to be retired as players before we talk about retiring their jerseys. Makes sense. When they are retired, I think it'll be a big ceremony with all three jerseys going up at once. I think that's how it should be, considering Crosby, Malkin, and Letang have all separately gone on record saying they're playing because they're all brothers on the ice. So, I think all three will absolutely be going up. There's no question about that. I don't think all three will go up together. I think they all deserve their own night, but I could be wrong on that. And I think that they maybe I don't know. Do you go Crosby last or do you just go Crosby first because of the importance? And I think maybe they go in order of how they retire. If Crosby retires last, I could see his going up last. If Malkin retires first, I could see his going up first. So that all depends, but I think that all three will go up unquestionably, but I see them doing it 3 different times. That's my 2 cents.
From a marketing standpoint, they have to have 3 separate nights, because that's
my
going to put
gosh,
asses in seats. Like, especially if the Penguins, let's look at it realistically here. When they're going into the rafters, the Penguins will probably be in the early stages, the budding stages of a rebuild, and you're going to need something to put asses in seats. So if you have 3 separate nights spread out through maybe 2 or 3 years, marketing standpoint, that's a bingo. And then as far as dude, I don't know why, but I feel like, maybe I'm crazy for thinking this, but I feel like Letang is going to still be playing. He's going to be the last one to still be playing. I think it's going to be.
I can see that.
I think Malkin has expressed interest in wanting to play at least 1 year back in Russia before he hangs up his skates for good. I don't know if that's still the case. That's a little bit of an old rumor. I think not even a rumor. I think that he was quoted saying that. Sid, I mean, he's like Tom Brady in the sense that I think that he will be able to play until a very old age. Maybe Tom Brady, maybe that's a bad example. Let's look at Joe Thornton. I think that, they play the same position. Joe played until he was 102. I could see Sid maybe playing quite long, but for some reason, I just feel like Letang is going to be the one.
I could see that
being, a right shot, puck moving D-man with some bite to him. He's not Shea Weber out there, but I mean, the longevity for that position, I mean, he could be like Drew Doughty. Like, he's going to be like, he could be, or Giordano. He could be like 39 years old and still offer something. I think Malkin's getting slow. I think he's breaking down. Sid, it's up to him. He could play till he could be the next Gordie Howe.
Yeah.
But I just have that feeling. So I think we all can agree that it's going to be 3 separate nights. And, you'd think that they're gonna do. Yeah, would it feel weird to celebrate like Sid second and then have a third one go up? Like, it feels like Sid needs to be like the big bang, right?
Yeah.
Like, he needs to be like the crescendo.
Yeah, I could see like a statue being all 3 together, but I think the jerseys will be retired all separately.
That statue, man. I think people are a little liberal with statues these days, but that will be a hell of a monument, and I think they all 3 deserve it.
Yep.
All right. I think is this your question? Last one here, coming from Kim. Who is the DJ in PPG Paints Arena, and where does he or she sit? Is there a DJ or is there a organ player?
I think it's a audio AV guy. I don't think there's a specific DJ. I think they're just up in the booth, up near the announcers, up in the press row area. I don't think there's a specific like DJ like you think of a club DJ or a wedding DJ.
It's Dan Potash.
That's what he does now. He's not on the rink. He's just DJing up in the rafters somewhere. But it's actually Iceberg. Just Iceberg, the other Iceberg. That's what he does when he's not running around the concourses and stuff. But no, I don't know who it is specifically. They used to have an organ player at the old barn. A lot of places did. But I think most of what they do now is just AV work. So I don't know where they sit exactly. They're probably up in the press row area. And I don't know them, like, I'd be able to identify them at all. So, sorry, I can't help you there, Kim.
Yeah, I guess these days, it used to be just an organ player, right?
Yeah.
But now with, things are different. Well, Robbie, that's it from me. I think that's our last question. I guess a tidy bit of business to talk about. Colin White put on waivers today by Kyle Dubas, claimed by Montreal, so he's probably... he's just going to walk across the dressing room, essentially.
He is. He said he's going to play tonight, so...
is this because of Achari coming back?
That or Nieto. Nieto skated today, too, so I don't know. Yeah, God, he did by himself, though, so he might not be fully ready, but it could be Achari or Harkins, I guess, too.
That's a bummer. I liked that. I liked Colin White. I liked what he brought. I thought that him on a fourth line with Achari, get those 2 guys, one of them centering, one on the wing, and then I don't know who on the left side, throw any of the pedestrians that are on this team on that. And I thought that might have been adding a little bit of something to a fourth line for the Pens, but hey, I mean, Colin White, he was good enough to play on the Panthers that went all the way to the Stanley Cup final last year. I think he played like 70 games for him. Good player. Unfortunate to see him go. So, anyways, I guess we'll see. Yeah, they play the Habs tonight. Are they in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, they're in Pittsburgh until next week. They have tonight and Sunday in Pittsburgh yet.
Okay, well, let's hope we get 2 points. We're on that positivity train.
Yeah,
I'm sure that we will be reasonable if they win or lose. Are we doing? I think we're going to do a post game tonight.
Yeah, we'll be back later for you guys as well.
I think that's it. Unless you got anything else to add, Robbie.
Nothing.
Let's for Robbie Noggle, I am Snail. Garrett is a pigeon. We will talk to you all very soon.